Many thanks for staying with us. We begin the program on Capitol Hill, where several civil society organizations, including the President of Liberia, today marched at the grounds of the legislature in the ECOWAS office in Liberia with a petition to counter what they call emerging fragility in the Mana River Union and ECOWAS regions. According to the concerned civil society organizations, the political power struggle in Mali, Guinea, and Ivory Coast is creating panic among ECOWAS citizens and call for quick intervention into the situation. CDC Chairman followed the event and filed in this report.
Growing fears over adverse effects on citizens in the Mana River Union and ECOWAS are becoming major concerns.
The attempts to manipulate constitutions by leaders in the sub-region to perpetrate themselves is tantamount to undermining the efforts of ECOWAS and the AU to avoid undemocratic seizure of power and impose themselves on the African continent.
Currently, some African nations, to include Guinea, Ivory Coast, and Mali, are facing serious power struggle, something several civil society organizations, including the Press Union of Liberia, on today brought to the attention of Liberia's 54th legislation.
Media practitioners normally are victims of this electoral violence. What is obtaining in Ivory Coast now in Guinea, we received reports that many journalists were brutalized for providing coverage that included oppositions. So this petition is a clear manifestation that we got to sound the warning.
The support and fight against regional power struggle is now intensifying in and out of Liberia, with the National Union of Civil Society Organizations of Liberia being a part.
We are also calling on all political parties in our government to adhere to constitutional mandate around tenure, which is going to be very helpful for our sustainable development initiatives.
Rane Fala, a member of the Christian Association of the Blind and head of Women Beyond Border, lamented the impacts of power grid.
Now we're not able to read Bamako. We used to go Bamako, the capital city to get something, but now we can't read there.
Electoral violence caused serious challenges for the general good, what's about people living with disabilities. So we are asking the national legislature to now call on other ECOWAS and other governments to now adhere to these kind of positive steps as a way of practicing good democracy in our world, in our country, and in the Mana River region.
As they petition Liberia's 54th legislators and ECOWAS in Liberia, these were the outcomes.
Liberia do have representatives on the ECOWAS Parliament, so we are also going to transmit this communication for it to be read in Abuja on behalf of your concern.
I will receive this petition and I'll make sure I pass it to him for necessary action.
With the mounting concerns over the regional power struggle in the Mana River Union and ECOWAS regions, it is now incumbent upon national and international stakeholders to make the difference. I'm CDC Chairman reporting for KMTV News.
As the momentum continues to build up to the 2020 senatorial election, the race continues to get crowded, especially in Moserado County. Recently, Deputy Labor Minister Phil Dixon resigned his post to contest as an independent candidate in Moserado County senatorial elections. But what exactly prompted the former Deputy Labor Minister's decision to contest? KMTV's Mother Tatu Mukoli files in this report.
Anthony Phil Dixon, a long-time stalwart and a strong supporter of the governing CDC, says he wants to contest to bring sanity and responsible leadership to the Liberian Senate. Dixon said it is time for young people to roll up their sleeves to canvass his political quest, describing a recent primary which brought Representative Thomas Fala as candidate for the CDC as being stage managed.
So it was almost like North Korean democracy. You know, in North Korea, the ruling party always wins. Does it really mean that people always want the ruling party in North Korea? No. But what happens is they are giving no option. The question of you
take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it. So all the partisans went to a primaries knowing that at the end of the process, this person will be announced the winner. Look at the number of invalid votes. It shows you that some people really felt they had no business even coming there. It isn't because they could not read and write.
Dixon disclosed that Representative Thomas Fala is not a major contender in the pending polls noting that huge spending is not a recipe for winning elections in Mosurado County. He said following years of struggle with the CDC, he thinks this is the best time to give him the opportunity to serve the people of Mosurado County instead of waiting as being puffered by some stalwarts of the party.
So let me say this thing about carrying out money. Liberians have shown over time that money can make you to win Mosurado. In fact, every time except when they don't won, we have won Mosurado. Was there any of those times that we even spent half of what our opponents spent? The answer is no. So for us to be trying to win Mosurado using money, it should tell anybody that something is going wrong.
This instead he desired to contest in the December polls. It's not on the basis of job, but his willingness to bring transformation and change and service to the country. He believes that his support base cut across both the youth and intellectual class. As everyone continues to boast to be the right candidate this time to lead the people, let's see how it plays out. This is Emmanuel Tato Monkoli reporting for KMTV.
That's Mosurado County Senatorial aspirant Phil Dixon there speaking when he appeared on Sky FM morning show. A coalition of 7 national civil society organizations, More for Education campaign, is calling for a 20% increment maximum in the national budget for the education sector to meet the benchmark for the sub-Saharan countries, which Liberia is part of. The campaign is headed by the Youth Coalition for Education in Liberia, YOSEL. Matthew Carley, Senior Program Manager of YOSEL, said through their advocacy, the budget of the education sector, which was at 14.6% during the 2018-2019 fiscal year, moved to 15.8% in the 2019-2020 fiscal year.
Before the COVID-19 pandemic, YOSEL and its coalition partners have been engaging educational stakeholders, policymakers, including the legislature, members of the 54 legislature, to increase the national budget to the education sector by 20%. The minimum 20% is a benchmark for the Global Partnership for Education, the Eastern Declaration of 2015, the Dakar Framework of 2000, and the Global Partnership for Education, GBV, are minimum standard for Sub-Saharan Africa. YOSEL and its coalition partners of the More for Education Coalition campaign have been involved into this advocacy since 2017, ensuring that the national budget to the education sector is increased by a minimum of 20%. Distinguished member of the press, we can see the effect of COVID-19 on every sector of our economy, including education. COVID-19 has further weakened our already challenged education sector with limited resources and support in addressing the many challenges and preparation in responding to the COVID-19 fight.
Ahead of the 2020 senatorial elections, several candidates, aspirants have now started to outline their platforms as part of efforts to convince their electorates. One of those is the former CDC chairman in the USA, Azevak Tubel, who on Wednesday was gracefully received by his supporters. KMTV Zach Sherman reports.
Supporters and campaigners were seen singing and chanting slogans as part of spiritualizing support for Mosurado County senatorial hopeful Azevak Tubel. As the support for the senatorial aspirant continues to escalate from the 17 electoral districts in Mosurado County, the senatorial hopeful campaign chairman Joseph Kokoi outlined the senatorial hopeful qualifications.
The contributions as a father. He is the founder, CEO of the Liberia Emergency Disaster Relief Fund. A founder and also CEO of what we call the Sustainable Development International. He is a contributor towards the rewriting of the current Liberian Service Board. He also contributing towards the health sector in the Republic of Liberia. He is Youth Connect. He is also a friend and supporter of the Liberia Basketball Association in the Republic of Liberia.
laid out his platform to convince electorates to vote him as the next senator for Montserrat County. Asikva Tupa named health, education, water and sanitation, among other things, as priority areas.
My agenda focuses on education, healthcare, agriculture, tourism, water, sanitation, and hygiene.
The former CDC chairman in the USA said he's taken aback at the party on grounds that the ruling establishment is not fulfilling to the struggle they used for.
What we had on paper, the value, the philosophy, and everything. Because the fundamental philosophy was to create an opportunity for every Liberian to be able to have an affordable living. I don't see that happening.
The Montserrat County senatorial hopeful also spoke against Senator Abraham Darrow's Dillon bill to decrease lawmakers' salary below $5,000.
I believe any bill that comes to power has to have some quantitative or analytical component. I've seen nothing from Darrow's bill to justify what he's proposing.
As the senatorial elections draws closer, with just barely 4 months remaining, political voices are high for a better Liberia.
The Ministry of Commerce says it is making substantial effort to continue the COVID-19 household food distribution process across the country. Addressing the news conference today in Monrovia, Commerce Minister Wisin Tappet said despite the many challenges the committee is faced with, it remains committed to providing aid food to the vulnerable community.
I can tell you that in spite of all the time it took to do the planning, we have made some progress while we're doing the planning process. And what we have is the distribution so far. We targeted at least 2 million people, at most 2.5. And if we take 5 persons per household, that would bring us to 500,000 households in the 15 counties. Even though the planning process was important, having done the testing, I'm pleased to say that we've done about 35,884 households while we're doing the planning process, which is significant. Because usually you want to complete the entire planning process before you begin the distribution. I hear people say, oh, they've done less than 5%. Ladies and gentlemen, when you are doing this task that is so involving, you want to make sure that you can cover all the identifiable risks. Because at the end of the day, this government will have to support to its people as to what happened to the money and how it was spent.
Amidst the increased wave of violence across the country, a permanent resident of the Baptist Seminary community is calling on young people not to allow themselves to be used by politicians ahead of the elections. Andrew Dunn asserted that youth play a key role in any country and as such should engage in meaningful activities rather than violence.
As Liberian goes to the polls come December 8, violence is said to be increasing in many parts of the country, but Montserrat County is at the epic. The situation has claimed the attention of a permanent resident in the Baptist Seminary community. Andrew Dunn believes young people are being used by politicians to carry out acts that could destabilize the peace currently being enjoyed by Liberians. He cited the issue in Grangida, District 13 and 15 as indicators that could plunge supporters of political parties into chaos.
I want to use this occasion today to call on all Liberians, young people. You see, in our community here, we engage with the young people. I engage myself with them every time, discuss with them, and try and lock them, tell them, look, refrain from violence. Violence will not solve your problem because they didn't see the war, they didn't taste the war, they didn't feel it. So they want to get the taste of it. But some of us, we don't want our children to tread that path. We don't want them to even see it. The last war, my daughter was just, a year, no, she was a baby. The last war when we ended on milking. And I don't want to see war. I don't want to feel war before. And I'm a relative in generation that didn't see it.
The situation has also claimed the chief of office staffs in the office of Montserrat County Senator Abraham Darrow's Dillon mounting.
The violence that took place in district number 13 when the CPP candidate was being supported by our various political leaders, at which time the political leader of Liberty Party, the party which I serve, narrowly escaped her life in district number 13. Senator Yombli Kanga Lawrence was narrowly slipped out of district 13, and the government launched an investigation today. Nothing have come out of that report. We'd like to recount the incident in district number 15 with Miss TDIU. Today there is an investigation, and in district 15, I would like to inform the press that I was also part of that incident, and I too narrowly escaped from my life.
Just what is the way forward? Andrew Dunn once again.
Fear, as we draw closer to December, midterm elections. But again, we want to call on political parties, whether you're opposition or you ruling position or whatever position you find yourself in. We don't want you to engage in a violent activity. If Party X is in Pinsville to a specific location, let Party B stay off that region.
Contrary to Andrew Dunn, Kula has vowed to react equally to any violent act against supporters of Senator Dillon.
Any attempt, would like to be on the record, any attempt for anybody, any thoughts or hooligans that will want to come to be news to disrupt our activity or to throw stone, there will be equal opposite reaction.
Many believe much is needed from state securities in protecting lives and properties. Ayesin Yiba, KMTV News, Monrovia.
Many thanks to our reporter Ayesin Yiba for that report. As the fight against rape and other forms of SGBV continues in the country, the Women Legislative Caucus has outlined several recommendations to the government and called for rape to be declared a national emergency.
Rape should be treated as an emergency and treated expeditiously. 2. The DNA machine donated to Liberia by UNMIL must be made functional so that we can have scientific evidence in court for rape cases. 3. Rape cases should be adjudicated within 30 days. 4. Criminal Court E should be strengthened to be a fast-track court as it was intended to be, so that cases are adjudicated within 30 days. 5. Budgetary allotment should be made for line ministries such as the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and the Ministry of National Security to enable them adequately address prevention and response to SGBV in Liberia. 6. The issue of statutory rape should be further discussed in a timely manner so that solutions can be found to stop the widespread of teenage pregnancy in our country. Decentralization. The Criminal Court E shall be established in all 15 counties with the same mandate that rape cases be adjudicated within 30 days. Next, the major hospitals in the 15 counties have one-stop centers for responding to rape and SGBV cases. What are penalties we suggest? For facilitators, most times facilitators are parents and guardians. Parents and guardians who may compromise shall be served the same penalty as those found guilty of committing statutory rape. The perpetrators should be sentenced for life imprisonment with hard labor. Then there shall be a special prison established for rapists with hard labor, not the Monrovia Central Prison.
Over now to your sporting news. The Liberia Football Association on Tuesday distributed office equipment to the 18 Women's Football Club in both upper and lower league of the women's division. The ceremony was held at the Antoinette Tubman Stadium. Here is a report.
On behalf of the Women's Football Committee,
the distribution of the items is part of the LFA's plan to build the capacity of women's football club secretariats. A total amount of US $15,000 of the US $500,000 for women's football development was used to purchase the pieces of equipment. The US $500,000 is a universal solidarity grant allocated by FIFA to members associations specifically for women's football development. FIFA and CAF have both made commitments to support members associations to accelerate the growth of women's football at all levels across Africa and the world. Liberia Football Association is therefore making use of the opportunity to invest more into women's football to make it the #1 priority sport for women and girls in Liberia.
Today, in addition to that support, we are benefiting from the Women Football Development Funds, and we've utilized portion of the fund as approved by FIFA to provide computers and printers to our women football team in the level of the upper and lower leagues. We've also used funding from the Equipment Solidarity Funds to provide 20 footballs to each of the women's football upper league and 10 footballs each to the lower league. Again, we are going to support more women. We're going to invest more in women's football. We want to make women's football #1 priority sport for women in the country, and we'll continue to do that. The money for football, whenever received by the Football Association, is going to be used for football. All money from FIFA is going to be used for your football programs.
To make women football the #1 priority sports for women and girls in Liberia, the Football Association is not only allocating funds to clubs, but has also allocated funds for women football competitions in over 700 high schools across the country. I'm Kokoi, KMTV News, Monrovia. A promotional contract has been signed between KMTV's entertainment show, The Caps Entertainment, and My Era Incorporated, a transport rideshare service company in Liberia. The transport service provider will use the application on electronic gadgets to connect passengers to commercial vehicles. Rosona Dix is the marketing manager of Manera Incorporated.
Used to take a ride or to charter a car, and it's based in Monrovia, Liberia. If I'm talking about app, I'm talking about app that you download from Play Store or App Store. If you have an iOS, you go to App Store, you'll find the My Area app that you can download and put in your information. And then if you go on the Play Store, if you have an Android, you can download it from there too and use it. My Area signed a contract with KMTV to promote the My Area show, the My Area app, right? The contract is signed between Wally Love to play on the Caps Entertainment show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Well, with that entertainment news, that's how we go home on today's edition of KMTV News Today. But before going here, once again, our stories that made the headlines. Several civil society organizations raised alarm over emerging fragility in the ECOWAS region. A coalition of 7 national civil society organizations calls for 20% increment in the national budget for education. And in sports, the Liberia Football Association on Tuesday presented office equipment to the 18 Women's Football Club in the Women's National League. We say many thanks to you for always joining our news broadcast from across the globe. On behalf of the entire news team here, my name is Kokoi. Do have yourself a pleasant good night from Monrovia.